And in this context, let's welcome Diego Pérez, teacher at the School of Security and Defense of Quito, Ecuador. Hi, Diego, and thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure talking to you today.
How is Ecuador arriving today to this election in social and economic matters?
Well, it is a very essential election for Ecuador because socially the country has faced a steep decline in the quality of life, whereas in terms of economic progress, the country has stopped. But not only that, but it has faced several challenges, especially regarding the change in the change in security terms that has affected businesses, as well as the problems regarding electricity. It's worth to remember that Ecuador had a very severe crisis regarding electricity over the past 4 months, and that has affected several businesses. So it has been those have been very essential issues in this election, and this is the country that the new president will have to face.
In what way the return to neoliberalism in 2017 has impacted and transformed Ecuador's social and economic landscape, the same that we are seeing today?
Well, as it is known, with any neoliberal type of government, the state has reduced its presence, especially affecting those in the most marginal sectors of the citizenship. So, with those conditions in place, the country has faced more poverty, less opportunities, more inequality, and that has meant that the people is facing more difficult conditions, and of course that means in the end that any candidate who is providing the notion of a stronger state should in essence should have better options in this election. However, the narrative regarding violence and crime has been overwhelming, and it has been the key element that the current government is using so as to gather people around their postures. So I think this is an election where everything is yet to be seen.
Regarding insecurity, Ecuador is suffering today an alarming rise in insecurity. In this context, Noboa imposed the militarization of the country under the narrative that it is key for the protection of citizens who are not linked to organized crime. However, it is happening otherwise. What repercussions are Noboa's decision having at a human rights level in the country?
Well, I mean, it is. I think this is an issue that has to be seen from the human rights perspective as well as the public policy perspective. So, from the human rights perspective, I think that the consequences have been very damaging to Ecuador's reputation as well as to Ecuador's respect of human rights, which has traditionally been one of the things that Ecuador did somewhat right. But in this period, we have seen several abuses by the armed forces, especially in the most marginal areas of the big cities, where kids have been kidnapped by the armed forces, where several abuses have been committed using the notion that these people were involved in criminal organizations. So that's been one of the downsides of this exceptional state that the president has kept on decreeing once and again. No? Now, on the other hand, we have to consider that security policy is still public policy. So it has to have goals, it has to have people responsible for them. And in this government, the security public policy has been at least to say somewhat murky. It hasn't been a clear public policy regarding security. It's mostly consistent of notions that are repeated over and over again by a securitizational discourse, but there are no key issues that are revealed regarding the security conditions of the country. So this means in the end that the country is going ahead with its war on organized crime, but it does not have a clear notion of what the processes should be, of who is responsible of what, and what are the goals that are to be achieved.
Let's bring back the topic of the economy issue. This security crisis the country is facing has also exacerbated Ecuador's economic goals. For example, the country fell into recession in 2024 with its GDP falling by 1.5%. How does this can be translated in matters of impact to Ecuadorians' daily life?
Well, I guess we should cross this information. We should check it against the fact that there are several citizens from Ecuador that are leaving the country, that have started huge migrational processes, and these processes are focused on trying to get a better life. I mean, Ecuador problems are not only on the side of the of losing the conditions in what refers to development, but also the problem here is that you cannot see what the future would bring. I mean, there is a very large gap regarding economic progress, so people tends to migrate, and this has been happening steadily since 2017, but especially last year was a very bad year. Now, it has to be taken into account the presence of Donald Trump in the U.S., and that will certainly change the conditions in Ecuador, at least during this year, because there has been a big amount of people who has been returned, even though we have only less than a month in Donald Trump's government, but there's a lot of people who has been forced to return to Ecuador from the United States, and the government here is trying to provide for them some economic bonus, about $1,500 as an economic bonus for them to stay in Ecuador. Now, the big question here is if they are going to stay in a country where the possibilities of economic progress are still not sure, not clear, but also these opportunities are also tied to an uncertainty, and that uncertainty is the chances of Ecuador of reinserting itself in the international economy, and the chances of Ecuador trying to have a normal, regular national economy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diego, for your time hearing from the South on this key day for Ecuadorians and for Latin America as well.
Thank you as well. Have a good day.
Thank you. We were speaking to Diego Pérez, teacher at the School of Security and Defense of Quito, Ecuador, and with this interview, let's go for a short break, but we'll be right back. Don't go away.